I get up there around 2 o'clock, and there's this forestry off to the left, and had the tripod set up and put the camera up, had everything lined up, the whole lot. Next thing I hear this calling, basically, which is what you'd hear during the rut. If you've ever been to the national
Right.
park, that the stag, and yeah,
Ooh.
thanks so much.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's in my ear now.
I don't know who you are, but welcome to the Irish Photography Podcast. Sit back, relax, and listen about cameras, gear, settings, stories, and all things photography. Join Darren on Ireland's Best Photography Podcast. Let's go.
And you're very welcome to episode 140 of the Irish Photography Podcast. My name is Darren, I'm your host this evening, and I'm joined by somebody who, truth be known, has been taking me around 2 years to get him finally onto the podcast. And now he's on the podcast. I'm delighted to have him on. My friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Ziegenfuss. How are you getting on, my friend?
I'm very good, Darren. How are you keeping? All right?
I'm very good, yeah. Sweltering in the heat now at the moment, but sure, other than that, great.
All ye Irish with the bloody hot weather. It gets just touches 30 degrees, and you're all complaining about the heat. Now, I even hear you're looking for hose pipe bans now as well, because we got 3 or 4 days of hot weather.
I know.
It rains here 3 quarters of the flipping year, and you have to have a hose pipe ban because it's 4 days of heat.
Yeah, I know, it's true, man. But you know what? Like, you can't be running over the water, you know? I mean, we don't have enough of it, as you say. It doesn't rain often enough in Ireland anyway. So,
No, no, not
we,
at
we,
all.
yeah, we'll have to get panicky, like, you know? So, yeah, you're
Mm.
enjoying the heat at the moment, obviously, down in the beautiful Kenmare.
Oh God, it's beautiful. It's fabulous. I've actually, I don't think I've ever in. I'm trying to go back and think. The last 25 years or so that I've been here, I don't think I've ever remembered 4 or 5 days of constant heat and beauty as there has been the last couple of days. Although, the story I could tell you about tomorrow or about yesterday. Oh God, we'll get into that later anyway.
All right, okay, yeah, interesting, yeah. So, look, I've kind of alluded to there, Rob. It's been taking me a long period of time to get you onto the podcast, and I'm really excited to hear the story of you. And also, you're part of a founding member of a phenomenal Instagram hub called Insta Ireland. But we'll get into all that later. Right now, I want you to tell people, who is Robert?
I'm an American that moved here back in 1989 and settled here after being back and forth between America and here for a while, trying to figure out what I wanted to do after high school and college, and eventually then met my now wife and have 2 kids and started a business and went through all the trials and tribulations of modern life in Ireland with the last sort of 20 odd years, and it's been a roller coaster, but it's been good fun, and I miss home an awful lot, but I'm kind of here and have kind of just creating a life for myself and enjoying every minute of it. Oh well, most of it anyway. As I said, you couldn't ask for a nicer place in the world to bloody
Yeah,
take photographs anyway. I can tell you that.
yeah, yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure. And you mentioned, about being back home and the temperatures and such like that. So, where is home originally, and what temperatures would it be at the moment?
Oh, I'm from just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Actually, Billy Joel's song "Allentown, PA." That's where I'm. That was actually where I was born and
Okay.
raised.
Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, this time of the year now, it would be. You definitely would have most of the time. It'd be well into the high 20s, mid to upper 30s, sometimes touched into the 40s,
Irish
occasionally,
weather,
but not
like.
that often. Oh
Irish
yeah,
weather.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, loads of that. Yeah. So
And
as I said, yeah, but it's good. It's a very humid heat. I mean, as I said, I'm sure an awful lot of your followers and listeners would have been over to the east coast of America before and know that in the kind of up in York, Philly, Washington D.C. area, it can get viciously hot in the summer and get
yeah,
brutally cold in the winter.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you get seasons in the US. Here we kind of get
Oh yeah,
the summer. The only difference is that the rain is warmer. That's the only difference, really.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, the liquid sunshine is great in the summertime here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you mentioned there about, you couldn't imagine such a nicer place to live in to take photographs. So tell me, how did you get started in photography?
Oh God, I got started in photography. Well, I used to always love it, and when I was kind of growing up, I kind of always just dabbled in a little bit, and always used to just find it fascinating. I used to love looking at photographers, surfers, and autumnal shots and model photography and all this kind of stuff. And I'd always wanted to try it, but I was so busy through the late 90s, early 2000s. With the boom that was going on at the time, being in the furniture business is what I do during the day, is my day job.
Yep.
And it was just so busy that you just didn't have time to think. And plus the fact, I'll be honest, you were making money. You'd go to the cinema, you'd go out to dinner, you'd go to the bar, you'd socializing, you'd travel, stuff like that. Just never really kind of ever picked up a camera. And then in 2008, when the recession started, you were kind of sitting at home, and I had the iPhone, and a buddy of mine was down, and he was saying, "Oh, have you ever looked at this Instagram? This thing." So I looked at it and tried it, and I posted a photograph going over the Cork Kerry border to Glengarriff one day, and I always find that view up there just so beautiful, looking down on Bantry Bay.
Beautiful.
And I
Yeah.
took a shot, and it got like 60 or 70 likes at the time, which I just thought was amazing. And I went, okay, yeah, I could get into this, and eventually just bought a cheap Canon, I think T3i or something like that, and started doing it, and never realized it was going to be such an expensive hobby in the middle of a flipping recession. It became worse and
True
worse and worse.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see a shot, you say, "Oh God, I got to do that," and then you'd see people saying to you, "Oh, well, all you got to do is have the right eye and the right this." And to have a camera, and to have the proper lens, the proper glasses, they say, the proper camera, you can't go too far wrong. I mean, as I said, when you have the right stuff, when you're using the right equipment, you can pull off some phenomenal shots, and
So
in any type of situation.
yeah, and it's interesting. You say there that you kind of started by using the phone, and then you said, "Okay, I might get into this," and you bought your first camera. Then you think when you got your first camera, did you start to understand photography more and want to understand photography more? Did you teach yourself how to use the camera other than the phone, or how did you learn?
Oh, I kind of taught myself, basically speaking. What I would do is, I mean, it was through trial and error. I mean, you'd go out. I mean, I think everybody kind of starts out with a certain niche. I mean, like most people do tend to like sunsets or sunrises, that type of thing, and
Colors,
that's
yeah.
where a lot of people. Yeah, it's where a lot of people start. They get their shot, and being at the Kenmare Bay, you'd run down at the evening times, and you'd get a shot off the pier or a shot from the bridge, and that's how it all started. And then you look at your feed, and you're kind of going, "Oh my God, I've got 25 images on my feed at the moment, and they're all sunsets of Kenmare." And you're kind of thinking, well, I got to go out and take a picture of a tree or a river or a street or something like that, and you work through it. But as I say, yeah, at the beginning, oh my God, I remember taking shots, and you'd be you wouldn't want to move away from ISO 100, because you wouldn't want them to be grain. You wouldn't want to be using high ISOs. You wouldn't want to be using high f stops, stuff like that. And you just kind of learn, and that's exactly what I did. I used to just take about 3 or 4 shots, test them out, different types of settings, see what worked, see what didn't work, see what would give you a sunburst, see what would kind of be oversaturated, undersaturated, and worked on it from there. And I mean, as I said, it's an amazing experience. But you never really. I don't think anybody, even the best of them, I don't think you ever really kind of ever perfect it, because as you know, there's always new technology and new stuff coming out, and and you always see that one shot on Instagram that you're gonna go, oh wow, I would love to do that. How did he do that? And then you got to go out and you got to try it, and 9 times out of 10 you wind up failing. But I mean, as I said, it's all part of the fun. That's what I find most intriguing about it, is sitting into the car spontaneously at sort of 12, 1 o'clock at night, especially this time of the year. Go out and try and find that proper angle or that proper point of view to get the Milky Way, or that proper star shot on the road or something like that. I mean, it's always just trying to find something new and interesting, and just make it fun. I mean, that's the thing. And meet people, meet new people. I mean, I think Instagram has been brilliant from that aspect of things, of being able to meet new people, interact with new people. I mean, it's like you and me. I mean, that's how we wound up meeting, and how we became friends for the last number of years. And I just think it's created an awful lot of those really good bonds that it can't be broken. And you've got a common interest and a common love of the area that we're in, and we try to get together and have a drink, and have a meetup or a dinner, and go shooting stars or landscapes or sunsets or sunrises or something like that.
And
That's what
isn't
I love
that what?
about it.
And I tell you, I agree with you fully. Isn't that what it's all about? It's about the people that you meet. I mean, okay, the camera is a vessel to get you there to meet those people. But you mentioned how I met you. I think that's a funny story, because somebody posted a picture up on Munster Landscape Photographers of a photographer taking a photograph at the lake by the Lake Hotel. And does anybody know who this photographer is? And it was a great photograph, but it included the photographer. So you asked, you know what, it would be interesting. So I said, no, I don't. But people started answering the question, and a couple of people mentioned this. It might be this guy, Robert. I think he's from Kenmare. He's some American guy that lives in Kenmare. Hang on, I'll try and find out his name. Before I realized that your name was mentioned to me, and I reached out to you and I went, hey, by any chance, is this you? That's the first time I ever spoke to you. And it was because of people who said, maybe it's this guy. And then I spoke to you and I went, geez, okay, look at this guy. Look at the shots that this guy has. What's the story here? And I was intrigued, where you were. And I got to chatting to you and we kind of shared common interests. And that's it. Photography is the common interest. And that's what I love about photography, because you meet so many different people, regardless of your style of photography. I mean, when I first met you, I said, okay, landscape photographer. But I quickly realized that you weren't just a landscape photographer. You were a landscape photographer, but you also added another level to that. So, let me ask you a question. What would you consider as your style of photography? And have you got a favorite?
My style of photography would be kind of, I mean, look, as I said, I'll be honest. I mean, like, I love my color, but I don't. I mean, I go back and look at my. I've actually purposely left. I know this is outside the question, but I purposely left all of my old shots on Instagram in both my modeling portfolio and in my landscape portfolio, from the simple reason of being able to go back and look at actually where I started. And I
Progression.
still actually have that first post that I actually did back in whatever it was, 2009 or 2008, whenever it was that I first joined Instagram. And I've left it there as a mark as to where I've come from on both my accounts. But I mean, my style. I mean, as I said, I love color. I love to find. I love leading lines. I love to get into have my basic. I mean, this might be cliche, but my favorite thing is when I take a photograph, especially my model stuff. I love it to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
I love it to be able to be seen as, when you look at the image, you can kind of go, oh yeah, I could see that. Like you could see a girl sitting on a rug or a carpet or a towel in the middle of a forest, and or you could see, I love the image to actually kind of reach out to you and give you, and tell you exactly what's going on in the moment. And even I like to try to do that in my landscape photography. A lot of people like that simple, kind of clear early morning look, whereas I love to take a shot like one that I took in Black Valley on Monday. I love to get the clouds and the moodiness and the reflection in the water, and you could just sort of picture it being this beautiful moment that you can only capture that once. You'll never be able to capture that again. It's a moment caught in time, and that's what I love to do more so than anything. Nobody can go down to the Black Valley and catch the exact same photograph that I took, and that is one thing that we all try to do. And certain photographers get a little bit weird about it, but you know, if we, I always look at it as somebody's trying to. If somebody tries to copy you, it's a form of flattery. I know it annoys some people, but if I see a shot of a certain area, whatever, I mean, I would not try to go out of my way, but if I was ever in the area, I would say, yeah, I would love to get that shot, but I would like to try and put my own spin on it. But see, an awful lot of the times you can never get that moment, even during lockdown, the first lockdown last April. I remember getting a shot down Henry Street in Kenmare and looking straight down at the cathedral, and there was nobody around. The only thing that was in that photograph was a green headlight, or was the green traffic light.
Traffic
There
light.
wasn't a single soul, a single car anywhere, and it was a beautiful moment. And it's a moment that you'll probably never get again. And that's the type of thing I love to do. I mean, as I said, from a style point of view, I love color, but I like it to be real color, a natural color. I like moodiness, and I do tend to kind of, with a lot of the modeling stuff, not dark style wise, but dark from a color point of view. I like that kind of dark, moody look in a lot of the photographs that I try to do, and I try to mix the two together as well as that if I can.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to, because you combine landscape with model photography. So you put a model in the landscape, but it's something that is kind of creates a story, as you say. It's a cohesive look. And
Yeah.
some of the locations that you would take a photograph in, you're not going to put a model there wearing the clothes that don't match, let's just say.
Hmm.
So there's a connection in relation to it. And you want to kind of create an enchanted look in some of the ones. And you've got some fantastic photographs that I've seen over the years. But as you say, it's about creating that moment and creating that once in a lifetime image. But it all has to come together. I mean, you go to a waterfall and you're not going to put a woman in a spacesuit in the middle of a waterfall. It's not going to work. But you're going to have flowing clothes and such like that, which will complement the scene and will create the connection between the model and the landscape. And I think that's what I like in relation to your style, because I can see an image that's taken and I know immediately that it's you that has taken that image. Lots of people out there take landscape photographs, myself included. There's many other people out there that just do model shoots, but not in the landscape. It might be in a studio or what controlled lighting.
Mm.
But when you're in the landscape and you have to take these photographs, you have a number of different things. So you obviously must like challenging yourself, because you're trying to deal with the natural light, you're trying to deal with the elements that are there. You're also trying to direct the model. You're also trying to deal in relation to how the light's going to fall on her for her to connect into the whole image itself. So tell me, how would you set up a typical model shoot?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I try to do any shoot that I do. I will not. As I said, it's a personal preference. I know certain people love it, some people hate it. I don't like. As I said, for me personally, I will not use any unnatural light unless it's absolutely imperative. And if I do use unnatural light or kind of fake lighting, as I would say, or
Mm-hmm.
speed box, whatever you want to call it, I have two little halogen LED lights that I would use that are right and left to kind of get in that natural light if I need to block in shadows, especially if the light has gone very low, or if I'm in a really kind of badly lit area. I will bring those lights in only if I have to. And as I said, be honest, I would say I probably use those lights. I if I couldn't count on two hands how often I've used those two lights
Wow.
in 10
Mm-hmm.
years.
Yeah.
So basically
Yeah.
speaking, what I will do is I will go out, I will look for a moment. I like a lot of the models when we're talking about doing a shoot, they'll ask me, "What's your plan?" And I'm kind of going, this might be very big. I'm sorry if it is, and if it's not something you want to do, I completely understand. I would literally kind of drive up to Cork or Kerry or wherever it would be, Dublin even, or wherever I'm meeting the person, and say, "Look, let's sit into the van or the car or whatever it is, and we're going to go for a drive." And I've often gone down through Middleton, down through Rocky Bay, and down to Carrigaline, and down to Crosshaven, and down into Kinsale, Old Head. Actually, we met you down there at Old Head, Kinsale, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever it was, 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago with a model actually. Um, and what we'll do is we'll follow the light. I mean, that's usually what I love to do. I mean, we'll follow where the sun is, where the sunlight's going to be, what direction it's coming from. And I'll be honest, all I bring with me in my bag, as I said, I have my 16 to 35 millimeter Canon, and I've got my Canon lens, and I've got my 70 to 200, and I use both of those. And that's all I have. I have those two in my bag, my two cameras in the bag, and my two lights in the bag, and that's about it. And I will go out and I will basically try and capture the light, capture the natural mood. Like even yesterday, I mean, as I
Mm.
said, getting into the story that I mentioned earlier, yesterday, 4 o'clock, I had organized, I was going to leave here. I got staff to come in to cover for me, and I contacted the model. We were talking to myself, the model from Limerick. We were going to meet in Ballybunion, and sun was split in the rocks. It was 27 degrees here. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. She was leaving Limerick. Same thing, 27 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I'm going out beyond Tralee, up the N69, heading towards the Stole. And next thing, as I'm heading up the mountains, I can see this fog coming in off the water. And I went, "You've got to be
Mm-hmm.
shitting me." I said, "You have got to be kidding me." I mean, it's an hour and 40 minutes this time of the year to Ballyhigh or to Ballybunion from here. And I get to within 5 miles of Ballybunion, and it's pure fog, pure cloud everywhere. And I'm like, I am so pissed at this stage. And I said, "What the hell?" I texted the model, and she was coming from Limerick, and she says, I said, "Oh, have you seen the weather?" And she goes, "I know it's so hot, isn't it?" She said something like that to me back in the text, and I went, "No, I'm in Ballybunion at the moment," I said, "and there is not 1 ounce of sunshine." I said, "It's pure fog." And she said, "No." Yeah, and they were still 15 minutes out. She gets there and literally in tears. We had to climb down the cliff faces, in Nuns Beach in Ballyheigue. I keep saying Ballyheigue, sorry, in Ballybunion. And
Ballybunion.
oh my God. But actually, be honest with you, we pulled off some phenomenal shots with the fog coming through the archway and stuff. But it was really some really, really nice stuff to come. But as I said, I literally will work with whatever I have. I mean, people, as I said again, models say to me, "What do you want clothes wise?" Look, just throw whatever you want to throw into the bag. And there again, sometimes that's wrong because it gives the bad impression. But, you know, I love to be, as you said, I love to be challenged. I love to be able to sort of say, okay, we've got this dress, this shorts, these pair of shoes, this top to work with. Let's go, and we'll find a field, or we'll find a forest, or we'll find a path, or we'll find a beach, or whatever it may be. I mean, like even the time we met you back in Old Head, we were driving around and we found that hayfield, and with all
Hayfield,
the
yeah,
hay, the
the
hayfield was
bales.
cut, and all of the all the rounded bales of hay were there in the ground. The sun was setting off across Garrettstown Beach, and it just made for some really really beautiful photographs. And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you
Mm.
don't. But I think some of the foggy shots that we got yesterday were probably better than any sun shots we could have probably gotten, because it could have been too harsh. The lighting might not have been right. You just never know.
And they were unique. I mean, not many people would go there in those conditions. They would have turned around, but you said, no, I'm just going to go do that. I mean, as I've said to you, and I've said a number of times before, I don't believe that bad conditions exist in landscape photography. There's always a shot. It may not be a banger, but there's always going to be a shot. But you add in that element of the human into a scene with the fog, with the arch in the background. I can just imagine in my own mind what it's going to look like. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to look like once you get those edited.
They should be nice.
Yeah, and you mentioned a moment ago as well about you will not use artificial light. You only want to use, natural light. So, I mean, one of the questions I had for you was that would you prefer to shoot indoor or outdoor? Now, I know the answer is outdoor, but why? Why do you prefer, and why will you refuse to use artificial light? What is it about shooting outdoor in the landscape that has such a draw for you?
Well, I mean, as I said, I love being outside, and I love, kind of traveling around. And as I said, again, it goes to meeting new people, it goes to seeing new locations, it goes to being able to work with what you've got around you. And as I said, a lot of people want to put a lot of time and effort into this, which I do. I mean, in fairness, I do. I mean, when I plan a shoot, I do not go into it half-assed and just basically, do whatever. We have a plan, we have a backup plan, and we have a third plan, and basically we go with that. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what I love about working outside over inside, as I said, don't get me wrong, I love working inside if you can get the right light coming through the windows, if you have the right setting inside the window,
Uh-huh.
things like
Yes.
that. I love doing stuff like that, working with shadows and things like that. So, from that aspect of things, I would not say I would love outdoor more than indoor. It's just that with my style that I like to do, the outdoor just works better for me from a natural light point of view. But I've I think I've gotten some really really good shots of indoor stuff. Well, more so actually in America, because as I said, a lot of your natural light and the sunlight coming through, kind of the blinded windows and stuff like that. I mean, you can get some really interesting, neat shots, then play with shadows and stuff. But some people don't like. I mean, there again, some people, some models do not like the fact that I won't use natural light, because shadows can be very unforgiving to certain people,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't get the shot right, those shadows can add, kind of bumps and hollows and stuff like that a lot of people don't like. So I mean, as I said, I know my style wouldn't be for everybody, and I mean, I know I'm no expert. I mean, I'm basically still learning. I would still consider myself learning, even though I've been doing it for the last sort of the fashion and the model photography end of it. I've only been doing properly for the last sort of 5 or 6 years. Before that, it was purely all landscape. It was just something that I wanted to get into, and I'd always had a love for being able to pose somebody in a position like the Cliffs of Moher, or Old Head of Kinsale, or you know certain waterfalls in Cork and Kerry, and things like that. I just love to work that whole, to give it that human aspect, as you said earlier. That's my thing, more so than anything. Is just is outdoors is great, but the reason why I don't like natural lighting is unnatural lighting. Is I remember years ago seeing a shot of a sunset, and it wasn't here; it was actually in America, and the girl was perfectly composed, laying on the beach, not a shadow. Everything looked wonderful and beautiful. And it was this gorgeous sunset behind her. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, if the light's coming from behind her and she's there perfectly exposed like this, and I knew what it was, but I just said it looks so fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my personal preference. It just looks fake to me, that if the lighting is coming from behind and you're going to have a perfectly exposed model in front of you laying on the beach. And don't get me wrong, it was a nice shot. But to me, it just didn't look natural and it didn't look right. And from that moment on, I just kind of said, you know what? I'm going to just stick with the natural light and do what I want to do. And as I said, it is more of a hobby more so than anything else outside of doing my own thing.
An expensive hobby,
It is an
a very
expensive hobby.
expensive hobby,
Yes,
as we
it's a
say.
very expensive hobby. Yes.
But you know what? Like you mentioned a couple of things there, Robert, right? I think which is quite interesting because you know Ireland, in one way, because we got so many clouds, you have a natural light box that's outside the windows of every place all the time. But the light intensity is obviously going to be diminished when you look at, bright light coming in and you got the blinds, you say you can cast off some lovely shadows internally and you can create some great, I suppose, texture and also dynamicness to the photo, but also to the model in the place that they are. But
Hmm.
you go down to Ballybunion and you're going taking the photograph there in the fog and such like that, right? Like that's a seaside location. And a seaside location is somewhere I think that can lend itself to certain types of photos. And you have, and I suppose I want to ask you the next question on that is, you've worked with brands before that have asked you to do something specifically with a product for them in a certain location within Ireland. So
Hmm.
tell us a bit about that and the opportunity that you had there and how did you approach that?
Well, I mean, was doing, I started doing, when I was getting into the model end of it, and the photography end of it from that point of view, I started doing a couple of the wedding fairs. I had met a couple of models that had said that if you kind of shoot the wedding fairs, you can meet some of the wedding dress companies and stuff like that, and some of the accessories, the things like that go into it, and then you could get into wedding photography and stuff. And I just found the wedding photography end of it. To me, the wedding photography end of it just did. It was you'd have to be perfect 90% of the time to be a wedding photographer, and I mean, as I said, I'm not saying my ratio isn't bad, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to hit that moment right when they're coming down the aisle. You have to hit that moment right when they're coming out the church. You have to hit that moment right for the first dance, and a lot of the times, you just can't. I found I did a couple of weddings with one or two photographers that asked me to help them out, and I enjoyed them immensely, but I found that people got in the way, drink gets in the way. It can be a very, very, well, I suppose not anymore now, pre or post COVID, but before COVID, I mean, as I said, it was a very messy experience. So just to make a long story short, basically Diamond Bridal, I had done a few shots for them at a wedding fair in a Shannon, and then they said, "Would you mind taking a few dresses to photograph here, there, and there?" And I said, "Sure." And I did a few bit for Sue Pierce Couture in Cork, and a bit for Bella Blue Vintage in Cork. And then I got asked by an American company to do some swimwear, and they wanted to do stuff along the Cliffs of Moher. They wanted to do stuff, kind of along the jagged Irish coastlines as you have here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's basically where it all happened. And then, as I said, now I've got another company now in Belgium now at the moment that saw some of my work on Instagram, and they want me to do some of their photo or some of their stuff that they do in forests, national parks, stuff like that. So, you get a few little
Class.
jobs like that, which are quite nice, and you feel very rewarded by the whole thing. So, I mean, I like where it's going. It's a little bit too slow for me, and if I had my way, I mean, as I said, if I was to choose in the morning between furniture business and photography, I mean, I'd choose photography, every single day and twice on Sunday. But unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to make a living. I was sorry, you can, but I would still be afraid to kind of jump off that ship that I'm on at the moment to invest my life fully in photography.
And it's interesting you say it there that you get the opportunities by sharing your work, which kind of brings it full circle from the whole social media point of view. Because the first photograph you took, you put up on Instagram, and okay, this could be interesting. And now you get the opportunities by people seeing your work and the style of photography that you've been able to create to want to be able to see their brand. So, the power in social media, I think, is really, really strong. So, what we'll actually do, Rob, right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back. And I want to ask you more about Insta Ireland because that really demonstrates the power of social media. So, yeah, we'll be right back after this.
No bother.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Irish Photography Podcast, why not jump back and listen to the back catalogue we have of episodes, where you'll get some great insights from fantastic guests, gear reviews, lots of hints and tips, and above all else, keeping you company while you drive or relax. Thanks very much for listening. Please consider subscribing, leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you're very welcome back to the Irish Photography Podcast. So, Robert, like I said before the break here, I really want to talk about Instagram and social media. And it has been a big, big part from your photography. But One of the other areas that you have been involved in and you're a co-founder of is the highly successful Insta Ireland. So tell us what it is and how did all this get started?
Well, in Ireland, basically started out in the infancy of Instagram. Basically speaking, when you used to have the old favorites, the favorites page that everybody used to strive to get to. You
Mm-hmm.
try and take one of these memorable images that would get liked by so many people, and then would get out in the top 10 favorites page, and then would balloon out across the world. And that's basically how an awful lot of these sort of feature sites basically started up. You had your Insta, actually I had Insta America as well. Insta Ireland,
You had Insta America
I
as
had
well.
Insta America, yeah, but
Wow.
it's kind of become defunct because they said I still have it, but I don't usually use it that often anymore. And Insta International was basically to highlight the beauty of the whole planet, to highlight the beauty of America being my home, and highlighting Ireland's being obviously living here. And at the beginning, when it was just iPhone shots, as they say, um, you had people that would sort of would want their work featured. Oh, can we get a shout out? And they'd want to get mentioned, and they'd want to get more followers, and it's how the whole thing kind of grew at the very beginning. So Sergio, who was a friend of mine in Ireland or in Killarney, who's from Estonia, and myself, he started up the Insta Ireland, took me on as a moderator, and then the two of us basically kind of ran it together, and we kind of formed it and made it into. And then there was Stuart Donaldson, and there was Adrian Healy, and there was um, a, a, oh God, I can't think. Aidan Coughlin in Galway, and now Susan Battersley that's in Dublin. So as I said, yeah, between all of us, we were kind of off and on doing featuring what we thought were beautiful photographs, and it kind of just blossomed, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And I mean, we were bigger than Tourism Ireland and stuff like that before they even started.
Wow.
But they were all very late to the party. But of course, when you're government sanctioned and government funded, you can buy your way in and buy your way up the ladder when it comes to those type of things. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it's still a good tag. I myself, Sergio, basically is has walked away from photography completely, and is turned himself for work, because we never wanted the biggest thing that we ever wanted to do is we never wanted to monetize it. And I think that's what we
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't have. We should have probably. No, I know. I sorry, we shouldn't have, because I had always basically said, no, we're not going to monetize this. This is to feature local photographers that are here in Ireland, and to feature people that have come here on vacation, and show them what they can, what they can achieve, where they can go, help them out in any way we could. And we had, oh, I mean, we used to get 25, 30 messages a day. If we give you, 500, would you sponsor this, or would you, or not sponsor this? Would you show this on your story? Would you show this on your page? And I just said no. I mean, the ESB approached us, years ago, or sorry, Electric Ireland approached us a couple of years ago and asked us to plug this competition that they were going doing, and they wanted to give us well, I shouldn't say an exorbitant amount of money, but it was a nice amount of money to be split between four people that were the mods of the team. And we kind of said no. We made a concerted effort that said this was going to be. We were not going to make this a commercial enterprise. We were not going to kind of riddle our feed and our stories with advertisements and stuff like that. We wanted it to just be pure Irish photography and Irish and people that were here on their vacation. And as I said, I love it for the fact that we never did do that. Some people have sold out to the likes of the big corporations and stuff like that, but I just think we did the right thing. You know, in hindsight, I still think we did the right thing, and I still think it's a pure, um, very good quality Irish feature of what the country has to offer from a photography point of view.
And you're sticking to your core. You're sticking to what it was set up for in the first place, which is to promote Ireland, the beauty of Ireland, to also help out photographers, but also show people what they could expect. So I fully agree with the non-monetization because it keeps it real.
Yeah,
It keeps it honest. It keeps it true. There's no hidden agenda. There's no hidden alternative that somebody wants to show this image, whatever it may be, in a story for a split second, and here's X amount of dollars or euros or whatever. Like that to me, I think is true to the core of why it's created. So hats off in relation to it. But you mentioned something here is about, sharing an image, and all of a sudden it gets picked up and it's shared internationally and such like that. So like right now, how many followers are on the Instagram Ireland page?
Insta Ireland page has about, I think it's 89, nearly 90,000 the last I checked.
Wow.
So as I
Wow.
said, I'm actually just checking it out here now while we're actually on the podcast. Insta Ireland has, at this very moment in time, God Almighty, I can't even see where I am now anymore. Um, yeah, about nearly 87,000 exactly.
Wow. And
86.8 thousand.
when did it start?
We started it in 2000 and no 2010. 2010.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
really, really early adopters. And how fast did it grow? Like, was it a slow burner at the beginning and then all of a sudden it took off?
Eh,
Or was it just constantly on a growth?
well, actually, Sergio, at the time when we created Insta Ireland and the thing, he had another page called Sunset Madness, which was where everybody that would want to get featured on a sunset would get featured. That's actually how myself and Sergio met. Was from that tag.
Okay.
Um, Sunset Madness, I think at the time would have had about 34 or 35,000 followers at the time, which was massive. I mean, it was one of the biggest tags on Instagram. I mean, it was huge. Even Instagram were
Hmm.
featuring stuff or were showing stuff that we were showing. And the Insta Ireland thing came into it because it was actually IG Ireland at the time because Sergio had it. He was a member of the IG team, and they were becoming very big for their boots. And as I said, that's again where the infancy of social media became very bully. I think in a way has become very um, I don't know, bully is probably not the word I want to use, but it became, you get these groups of people together and they would basically, right, they would control everything that would go on.
Clicky.
Yeah, they would get very clicky and very controllable about what you could and couldn't do, and you couldn't be members of other pages. And Instagram just started getting really, really messy around then because certain tags started to take off and certain pages started to take off and become big. And these ones that were big then thought they were, you know, they thought they were the hot shit, basically speaking. And
Talk to the bee's knees in
yeah,
in the cat's
exactly.
pajamas. Yeah.
And it just, as I said, Sergio had walked away from IG Ireland, and then, as I said, at that time, um, it was when they created Insta Ireland, and the with the Sunset Madness, and like as I said, it was really good, but it was a very slow process. But it's all about back then, especially before Instagram started changing algorithms and all this type of thing, and changing the content that you did see and who you would see and all that kind of thing. Um, Back then, I mean, if you tagged right and you tagged at the right time and you did it at the right time, you could you could get a lot of winners. And basically speaking, I think one night we were using the same group of tags that we still use today, um, and we hit it at the right time 1 2 nights at around about that 11 12 o'clock. I always said, as I said, this is my own opinion. There's no scientific fact, especially not anymore anyway. Um, if you always hit around 11 or 12 o'clock in Ireland, you got the people before they went to bed. You got the people in America that were finishing work, and a lot of the demographic of the Insta Ireland page was some continental Europeans, but it was mostly Irish, English, and a lot of Americans who had a fondness and a a love for Ireland. And
Yes.
we just found that 11, 12 o'clock window was always a great time to post. And what happened was, is after continuously posting and continuously tagging and just changing it up a little bit and trying to feature more and more people, it became very, very popular. And we started getting sort of 7 8 900 likes, and then it went up to 1,000, and then it went up to 2,000 and 3,000, and it continued to grow. And as I said, it's as I said, I'm still very proud of. I mean, I must say Susan's done a great job while we've been, well, especially me, because with
On
my,
hiatus.
yeah, with my hiatus, because because of my family issues, my father being ill in America and stuff like that, I just haven't been able to really put an awful lot of time into it. And then, as I said, I've been so busy myself in my own business that I just haven't had an awful lot of free time to be able to do it. And I mean, as I said, my heart, I give many thanks to Susan for for doing it since, I think, is it since February? I think since I think any one of the two of us have given any really kind of insight into it, because it's just the time hasn't been there.
Mm. And you mentioned there as well, I suppose, you wrote different things that would happen along the way and such like that, and different achievements that you would have done. I mean, when you set it up, did you think that you'd reach 10,000? Did you think you'd reach 30? Did you think you'd reach 50? Did you think that you'd reach right now where you are at the 87? So, I'm sure there must have been kind of many memorable moments about it in through the whole journey of Insta Ireland. But has there been the most memorable thing so far?
Not, I mean, not really. I mean, I think, but from a personal point of view, I mean, um, to be featured on Wonderful Places like I was, I mean, like you got to remember, Wonderful Places years ago was followed by like 1.5 million people back in
Hmm.
2011. And when that's one of the things that actually that kind of shot my followers up, was the fact that I had a shot of Rena Gross. As I brought you down there to the tunnels, I had a shot
Yes.
of Rena Gross
Yeah.
that was featured by them, many years ago. And I mean, it went around. It's now, it's if you look on Google or any kind of search engine on the internet, and you type in the 10, what is it, the top 10 paths in the world you have to walk and see before you die. My image is
Hmm.
in that top 10, just
Class.
because of being featured on Wonderful Places all those years ago. And like, as I said, it's the one thing for me that and then that image has been bought a couple of times, has been stolen by a number of people, has been, has made its way around the world. And I mean, like, as I said again, a lot of people do get very pissed off about people stealing. I mean, especially stealing images. I would get pissed off about that and using them as their own. But if somebody is doing it, I mean, deep down inside, you have to kind of think to it. Well, it is a form of flattery as well, because
Hmm.
they couldn't do what you did, and they're trying to copy it. I know it's not the right thing to do, but there is, if you want to get, there's no sense in losing sleep over it, because you see nowadays it's so difficult
None.
to go and get your image back anyway. Look, I mean, you can cry and moan and piss and pout about it. It's not going to make any damn bit of difference. I mean,
You put your image up on the internet, it's no longer yours. I
that's right.
mean, that's just the reality of the
Yeah,
situation. And I mean, anybody out there, I often, I went through it myself. I'd put my signature or whatever, or a big logo on a. They can get rid of that if they really wanted to in the space of 4 seconds.
of
So
course they
what's the
can.
point in even putting that up there? Do
Yeah,
you know? But like you mentioned there about getting one image featured, and all of a sudden it goes stratospheric, and then you look at the hub, as in Insta and Hub, now sharing an image with a photographer, which has now been picked up by other areas again, which is now sharing that even to even further people. So the reach there, I think, must have been exponential at one point, I would
yeah,
think, yeah.
yeah. You always, well, it is. I mean, as I said, it's still. I mean, you're still reaching between, sort of 15 to 3,000, which I think is still pretty much is still very good in today's standards. Because I mean, there again, with the Instagram algorithms, you don't get seen by everybody that you're supposed to get seen by. You don't get seen by the
Hmm.
demographic you're supposed to get seen by. And I mean, it is very difficult nowadays, because unless you're Beyonce or Jay-Z or something like that, you're not going to get into the echelon of the upper, or if you're a fitness guru or somebody like that. Yes, you're going to get up there into the thousands and the thousands and the thousands. But for the general everyday Joe Soap, I mean, if you get between 150 to 200 likes, you're doing very well. If you do 4 to 5, you're doing extraordinary. If you do 7 to 1,000, you're doing very, very, very well. To be able to
Hmm.
go over the 1,000 mark and to get up into the multi thousands, I still think is very good at this day and age, because um, of the way that the whole thing is set up, and it's set up for big business, it's set up for the big celebrities and things like that. But getting back to your point as well as that about the Instagram thing, you know what? One of the biggest things I find most gratifying about um, featuring stuff on Instagram is the fact of when you feature that photograph. I mean, I know what it was like for me in 2009. If I got a photograph featured on a hub, you would be kind of like, oh
Correct.
yes, that is just awesome. I mean, I've been recognized, I've been, by my peers, stuff like that. But I mean, I love to be able to post that image of somebody that has maybe only 1,000 followers and might get about 60 to 150 likes, and you give them an image, you put an image of theirs, which is exceptionally good, and you put it up there on the Insta Ireland page, and next thing, all of a sudden, that image gets between 15 to 3,000 likes, and they probably gain 15, 20 followers out of it, or and they get a little bit more insight and stuff like that, and it gives them. And as I said, for me, I'm only going off my own personal experience. When something like that happened, I would go back out next week and I would try to do better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It
Yeah.
strove. It
It's a
actually
great
drove me.
motivation.
It drove me on and gave me motivation to go out and do better every time. And I mean, I think that's the one thing that I think is great about Insta Ireland, is that it actually does. And as I said, look, we get an awful lot of people that moan and shake and moan and give out that we don't feature this and we don't feature that. Look, you've got to realize, and as I said, I say this with everybody, with you have to tag the image. If you don't tag the image and you're on private, we cannot see the image in the feed. And we go through the feed most nights and we go through it and we pick out a couple of images and we try to do it. The only bit of advice I can give to somebody, as I said, is you keep doing what you can do, and I mean eventually you will get noticed, but you've got to tag and you can't be private. Because if you're gonna do if you're both of those things, we can't see it. We will not see it in our
Hmm.
feed. And I say that, and I know that this is old news because this has been going on for years. But it's just like, as I say, we get, oh, well, you never feature this, and this is a lovely image and stuff like that, and it is. But sending it to us through the email or sending it through us through direct message is not going to get you featured. You've got to flip and tag it like everybody else, and that's the way it's always worked, and it's the easiest and fairest way to do it. I'm sorry, that's
But
just the way it is.
But you know what, you're dead right, because it's down to either being able the visibility to see the image, not only for ye but also for others as well. Because like, how important are tags on images now in Instagram? I know there's a big difference now versus when you first started Insta Ireland in relation to how important tags were. Why? Because there wasn't as many, so something is going to stand out a lot easier, and something more niche in a certain area is going to be seen.
Well,
Like, for example, Milky Way photography.
mhm.
Okay, there might have been X amount onto it, but the more and more people that do that, the more and more people use the tag Milky Way photography, the more that the images are tagged to that, the lesser chance it is going to be seen. So, how important are tags in the current sphere of Instagram right now?
Well, you see, tags need to be applied to an image straight away. I see an awful lot of people, which even in the model photography, because I get tagged in, if they're tagging me in an image, and then next thing they go and change the tags, and a week later, it doesn't matter anymore. See, when Instagram started up, if you posted an image now, say, right, and you said, "Oh shit, I forgot to put the tags on it," and 20 minutes later you put the tags on it, when you put the tags on, it would fall into, like, if you tagged model photography, it
Hmm.
would fall into the model photography at the time you posted, at the time you sent it in, at the time you tagged the
Which is
image,
way back
which
down.
was way back. Which
Yeah.
so basically speaking, if you put the pin image up on Instagram now, and 20 minutes later you went, oh shit, forgot to do my tag, and then next thing you go and tag it, it would fall in right there. So if you went to if you went to hashtag model photography, you'd see the image that you just posted there, as long as it wasn't an image that had, like, as long as it wasn't a tag that had 45 million images on it already, and was just going to get basically wiped down the board before you even got a chance to see it. But Instagram changed
Hmm.
all that about, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, that if you once you put the tags on, no matter when you put the tags on, it was going to go in at the time you posted the image. So if you forgot to post your
Mm-hmm.
image, if you forgot to put your tags on the time you posted the image 20 minutes ago, your images are then going to get thrown into the time slot that your image was posted at, not the image, not the time that you did the tags at the
So
beginning.
nobody would see the
No, so
tags.
nobody's going to see the tag if you don't do it after 20. If you do it after 20 minutes, nobody's going to see it unless it's a small tag.
And if somebody's searching for the tag, you might be on whatever
Oh, you could
20
be
or
on
30
page,
images down on there.
like, I mean, I remember, just a pure, just for a looking point of view, I remember I tagged Wonderful Places one day, and I went in. I literally tagged them the minute I posted the image. Went into the Wonderful Places tag, and I was 9 scrolls down on the feed within the space of
Already.
25, 30 seconds.
Wow.
So, I
Wow.
mean, as I said, like, and that was then. I mean, if you did it now and you posted something on Wonderful Places, and you
Yeah.
decided, in this 6 months' time, I actually, that image is really nice, I'm going to tag Wonderful Places. That tag is going to fall back into the 6 months before from where you posted it, not in today's date.
That's
And people don't
interesting.
realize that, and they go
That's
retagging
interesting.
stuff, and it doesn't matter unless they're small tags.
Hmm.
Unless they're
Mm.
small tags.
Unless there's something unique in relation to
Yeah.
it that it's not going to have a plethora of other ones that are tagged in the same way.
As I said earlier, not to be the dead horse over it, Instagram have made it very, very, very difficult for anybody to succeed in becoming world famous anymore, because it just gets it just make it too hard. Having said that, some people can get lucky. You tag in the right time, in the right place, the right here, right there. You know, you can get lucky. You can catch lightning in a bottle. I mean, I've seen it on an image. It's very glitchy in the last, especially the last sort of 6 to 12 months during COVID, because I mean, I posted a picture of a boat. I remember in lockdown last year in April, and within the space of 3 4 hours, I was at like 900 likes, and then I went over into 1,500 likes, and then the following day I
Nice.
posted at the exact same time, used the exact same tags, and I got 400 again. And then the following day I
Mm-hmm.
posted another one, and I got 1,000, and then 2 days later I got 900, and then 3 days later I got 400, and it just stayed at around. I mean, I've always stayed at around that kind of 5 to 7 800, but I refuse to. The one thing that always annoyed me in Instagram, and again, you know, it might piss some people off to say it, people that would have 25,000 followers and they were getting like 100 likes in a photograph,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
bots.
Yeah.
I refuse to
Yeah.
let my feed be taken up by. I mean, because I used to always go in every week and I would just blow at anything that I thought wasn't real. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to go above. I wasn't going to be one of those people that was going to have above like 10,000. I mean, I could have had 20 odd, 30,000 likes, 30,000 followers by now if I didn't purge half of what I did. I've always kept it at around about 9,000, and I'm still only getting, you know, between 5 to 1,000. And I don't even get 1,000 that often, but I mean between 5 to 1,000 likes. And I mean, as I said, that's basically where I draw the line on it. I mean, I just will not.
Well, you gave me that advice one time, and I went right, so, and I went off in, and I started deleting loads of followers. And before I realized it, I deleted 300 followers, and I went, "What are you doing, man? You're deleting. It's not a case that you've got 100,000. I think at the time I had something like 800 followers or 900 followers, and I deleted 300 of them on your advice. And immediately I had regret. And I think the reason I had regret is because if you think about social media posts, our images are there because it's feeding an endorphin that everybody craves, which is some sort of
Yeah,
recognition, some sort of a like, some sort of a well done. It's something that's not new to social media, by the way. It's been there outside of social media all our lives. Since we were kids, you'd do something and you'd ask your parent, "Did I do a good job?" Why? Because you're craving that recognition. Now it's gone into the social media world, and it's instant, and it's instant gratification. And you put that image up, and the advice you've given there, about changing the tags and stuff like that, you put that image up and it doesn't go well, and all of a sudden then you put the tags up and it still doesn't go well. That's when I think can start affecting people's heads, because they get so ingrained in the hunger for what Instagram can give them, that little notification. And that notification, by the way, is not something which is unique again to anything. It's innately built into us because we see a message. What is it? What is it? What is it? Who is it? Who is it? And you either are a person that craves that and you keep all of your notifications clear down to zero, or you're somebody who goes, "I don't care, I just get to it whenever I want to get it." And that's why your notifications might be up to 60 or 70 or 80. And I think that's the interesting thing when we look at how social media has kind of evolved, because people they're, like I said, they're craving that, but it's like as if it's an addiction. You put the image up and it's constantly, "How many likes mine after 5 minutes? How many likes mine after 10 minutes? How many, this one isn't performing as well. I think I better go in and change." Why? I mean, you're taking the photograph for the love of taking the photograph. You're not taking the photograph for Instagram. Or if you are taking the photograph for Instagram to crave all that attention, then maybe photography isn't your passion. Your passion is the addiction to those likes. And I think that's where Instagram has really, really kind of changed people. Facebook as well to a certain extent, but Instagram
all of them.
mainly because it's images. Like Facebook is more, gives you political messages and everything else that you don't even want to see, but Instagram is purely images. And I think that's where the delineation comes between it. But Instagram now have said that they're no longer going to be an image sharing platform. They're moving over to video. Why? Because it's the instant hit. It's the instant gratification that somebody gets from a short 15-second TikTok. YouTube did exactly the same thing. Instagram have done exactly the same thing with Reels, because an image is no longer giving us that endorphin release. It has to be a moving image. It has to be bright. It has to be colorful. It has to be loud. It has to break our attention. And that's something I think which people can get too addictive or addicted to.
It's
And when you
endorphins.
start looking in relation to, say again,
It's endorphins.
it's
It
endorphin
really
release 100%.
it releases endorphins. Like, I mean, as I said, they've done studies on this, that mobile phone is
Yeah.
probably the worst thing and the internet is probably, and I know it has goods and bads, but I'm just saying it is probably the worst thing that it's actually, I don't want to get, kind of off the photography topic, but it has dumbed us down so much, and it is made us a slave to that phone and to the internet. It has made us a slave to it because it just it's with us 24/7, 365. We need to get that message. We need to get that like. We need to get that flipping Twitter, that tweet rehashed. We need to get that Facebook picture liked by 1,000 people. We need to get that Instagram post up under the flipping favorites board. We need, it's this constant craving for attention, and it's this. I mean, even I know it myself with model photography. Certain people will say, "Oh, well, that's doctored, and that's this, and that's that, and whatever." A lot of times you've got to do it because if you don't do it, it's not going to get the likes, and if you don't do it, you're not going to be seen by anybody if you don't do it the proper job, and you don't brush it the way it's supposed to be brushed, and you don't edit it the way it's supposed to be edited. And I mean, as I said, it's the way that the world works anymore, and it's not. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm so sick of Instagram. That's why I haven't even posted on my landscape page for so long, because I'm sick of it. It's become a political platform. It's become a censorship platform. It was supposed to be about photography and meeting people and interacting with people and doing what was fun as a hobby for the world to unite. And it seems to have divided us, because no matter what it is politically, whether it's COVID, whether it's this, whether it's that, it just seems like it has completely divided us. And as I said, is dumbed us down. We have a problem or we have a problem or a fight this evening or a disagreement over something. What do? We Google it to end the fight. Or, then it
Mm-hmm.
depends. Then we have the fight about, well, where did you get the information from? Was it from this
Mm-hmm.
news site, or was it from that site, or did you get it from Wikipedia, or was it added in by somebody? And then you have, it just snowballs into these arguments. And I mean, I've even fallen out with friends over stuff like this, because I just think it's ruled too much of our lives. A lot to be said to go out. I mean, as you know, and as with me, even where we were out in the national park, we had no satellite, we had no telephone signal the last night.
None.
Two of us could sit there talking. I had a cigarette. You were taking photographs of the boat. I was taking photographs of the boats. We were talking. The people have lost the art of talking. It's text message now. Yes or no. Hello. What time will you be home? What can I get? How are you? It's all small talk. The art of having a conversation between two people like this is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely
Mm-hmm.
gone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even from the point of view of dating apps. I mean, you look at these dating apps and the Tinders. I mean, guys don't even know how to talk to girls anymore. It's swipe right or swipe left, and there's no, like, it's true. I mean, I know, I'm just saying again, I'm not trying to get photography into it, but when you bring up the social media aspect, to me, I get very passionate about it, because as much and all as I love it, and as much and all as it's given me an avenue to do what I really love to do as a hobby, it has still ruined what I think has been. It's ruined a lot of the bonding and the camaraderie between people, because we don't need to see each other once a week or once a month anymore to do photography, or to have a chat. We just talk through the phone, like you and me. You send me a message, I send you a message,
Yeah.
how's it going, blah 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 blah. What are you doing? Where are you
Yeah.
going? And then we don't talk for a week or two, and then, oh geez, I got a question, or oh, how's things? How'd you get on with that, or whatever.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't have it. You don't have a telephone conversation anymore. You don't have these heart to heart conversations anymore. And I just think that's what's killing an awful lot of society, and the groups and the camaraderie that we get from people.
I agree with you, and I think social media as well is probably a bad um, vessel for the conversation that people need to have, because it's shortened, and it's about, like I say, it's about those likes. It's about, getting that endorphin release. But I think, as also you mentioned a second ago, it's about a click, and it's about fakeness as far as I'm concerned. Like the truth is kind of being eroded over time, and the reality is setting in to become the new truth. And you get so many people out there that will live in the world and feel, by the way, an emotional connection to how many likes their image get will make them feel good or bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're craving that. And if they don't get that, then they're questioning why they're doing it, and that can bring them down. This is only likes. This is somebody saying, I like your image. Hang on a second. That's if somebody even saw your image in the first instance. Like we say, an image might only get 400 likes or 200 likes or 20 likes. It might only have been 20 people that saw it because Instagram didn't decide to show it to those people. That doesn't mean that you should be in a better mood or a worse mood from before you posted that image. And I think that's where we've got a bigger challenge, because it is really influencing photographers to change their style, to adopt a style that they think that they have to post an image that is going to get the likes on Instagram, when it's actually not an image that they want to take themselves. And photography, for me, and I think for a lot of people out there, is about the image. It's not about social media. And photography has been around a lot longer and will continue to be around a lot longer than Instagram or social media in its truest form. And I think that's where people will get confused, because if you are living your life vicariously to how many likes or reactions or shares you get on a photograph on Instagram, there's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong, because that what happens when all that goes away? You're going to have a void in your life that you're not going to be able to fill, or you're going to look for something else to fill that void. And I think that's where the biggest challenge from my side of things, looking in at Instagram, and I'm part of it as well. You know, I post an image, okay, I might go, how many likes would it get? But I'm not obsessing by it and not making me feel be good or bad about myself. Oh, I got X amount of likes today, I'm a better person. I'm the same person. It's just an image. And I think that's where the challenge is from a social media, particularly Instagram, because it's all about fakeness from what I can see. There's people, oh, I post an image here, okay, 20 people, oh, your man has posted an image here, go in and like it. And then more people do the same in the hope that it gets onto that, what's the name of the page, the
Well,
feature
favorites is
page
what it
or
is now,
whatever
or
it's called, favorite.
favorites page or something like that. Anyway, or used to be the top 10 or whatever
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
to try and get that out there, to try and beat the system, but also to try and, fuel the fire in regards to, I need to get those likes. Forget about the likes. Turn off from social media. And I think it's an interesting one you say about how Instagram has been, so instrumental from your point of view, but also then, like I said, from almost at the end of the first part of the podcast, it kind of goes full circle, because you now go, okay, this is really, really good. But then you see the bad side of that. And like, you're looking at quite a lot of stats on a regular basis, I imagine, quite large stats as well within relation to reach. And like, how has it changed? How have people changed in the last 6 months or a year or 2 years since the Instagram algorithm has changed? Have people changed how they're posting? I mean, obviously people are going, you never shared my image. Well, hang on a second, I'll share your image if we feel like sharing your image. It's not a case of prerequisite, share my image from me. So I think, are people becoming that kind of a way that it's an expectation that somebody is going to share it? Because if you don't share it, then it's not Instagram, man.
Well, you see, it gets complicated because you see the thing is there are some half like, and there again, I don't want to take anything away from anybody because I mean I know exactly. I mean, as I said, people could think my photographs are shit. I mean, I understand that. Um, when I started out, I mean, I would have taken an image and I would have looked at it and said, "Oh wow, that was really really that was really awesome." And then I would look at it 10 years from now, or like as I said, now looking at that image that I took 10 years ago, oh my god, how the hell did I post that? And you can see in the moment, people will often send us DMs. Like we could have up to 35 or 40 DMs a day in Insta Ireland with, could you share this image I took, or we're doing a fundraiser for this one, and we just basically, and as I said again, it's meant is no disrespect to anybody, we literally don't even look at them because they're blurred until we decide to look at them, and we just, if anybody asks us for a request to look at an image, we literally just try to, we don't try to entertain it because we don't want
Mm-hmm.
people getting
Mm-hmm.
into that point. We want people to continue to use the tag, because the tag, from getting away from your question for just 2 seconds, the tag for us for Insta Ireland is, it's a um, it's a very good go-to point, for, because as I said, at the moment I think there's something like, I think the last time I checked there was about 700,000 or 800,000 images stored on
Wow.
the Insta Ireland tag. And I mean, as I said, from my point of view, we want people to tag to Insta Ireland, because then if they click into Insta Ireland and they go to the search button and they go, hashtag Insta Ireland, they will find images of Ireland and find places to go and visit. And, so as I said, I think of it more
Mm-hmm.
as a tool, more so than
Correct. Yeah.
just to sort of keep everything. So what I just like people to do is tag the flipping Insta Ireland. And if you tag Insta Ireland, we do make a general concerted effort. Sorry, I know I haven't since February, but Susan has made a general concerted effort to go through the tag. And we go down 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 clicks to kind of go back. And as I said, everything is pretty much in chronological order and dates. And we go back through it and we try to find images that And a lot of these people, they send images. I mean, they see what's on the page. I mean, they should be able to see the kind of
The
genre,
level.
the level that we're looking for. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
just, and as I said again, I don't mean that in any disrespect because I took many of the shots myself. But you're not gonna take a shot of just the basic, the sun blaring off the sun on Kenmare Bay at 9:30 tonight, and it's a very mediocre shot and whatever. They see the quality of what we're actually trying to feature, and I think that they need to know that it has to be that kind of quality before we're ever going to even look at it. Because as I said, if it's not something that's going to catch your eye, and I mean, I do know why people do tend to try to over edit and oversaturate certain images for Instagram because I'll be honest. I mean, when I'm there on the thing and I go through the feed to look for something to post, you're going to look at the thing that catches your eye the most. And most of the times, the things that are going to catch your eye are the things with a bit of color, the castle, the reflection, the sunset, the sunrise, stuff like that. And it's got that point of view and that it's got that line of sight that you're looking for. That's the type of thing that we're looking. But I mean, getting back to the data end of it and to the stats, COVID has ruined everything. Being genuinely honest with you,
Oh yeah.
because I mean, as I said, it doesn't matter what you post, when you post it, whatever. I mean, as I said, if it's a COVID-based image, if it's a COVID-based image or something that you see, 'cause there's so many people, the anti-vaxxers and the vaxxers, the anti-face masks and the face masks, and
Yeah. It's turned political
yeah,
message now more
there's
so
so
than
many
what it
different
should have
political
been.
views, and at the moment, Facebook is getting very much into this whole thing of blocking stuff, which I don't agree with. I mean, as I said, I'm very much a pro-choice person. Do whatever the hell you want, as long as it's for you to do, and just don't force me to do anything I don't want to do, and that's where I'll leave that. But the COVID thing, I mean, if Facebook deems your post to be any way wrong or any way off the general the general theme of things, they'll block it. And I mean, they block loads of stuff. So I mean, when you see that, you can see that they're not just blocking COVID stuff. They're pushing certain celebrities and certain people into higher places to get more likes. And I just think there again, that's one of the reasons why in February, like February, sorry, beginning of the first lockdown, I deleted and dropped out of Facebook. I left. I just said I didn't want to listen to it anymore. I was sick of listening to the moaning. I was sick of listening to people bitching and moaning. And I just had enough. And I kept Instagram. I got rid of Twitter. I got rid of Facebook. Got rid of Snapchat. Got rid of all of it. I didn't want any of it anymore. All of it. Got rid of everything except for Instagram because of my love of photography. But now, even as we come into this next lockdown, sorry, as we come out of this last lockdown, I am very very close to pulling out of Instagram as well because it's just driving me nuts. Because as I said, every other post has got a COVID flipping warning thing across the bottom of it. Every other post is somebody bitching and moaning about this, bitching and moaning about that. And then you get a photograph of this celebrity endorsing the vaccine. You get a picture of this celebrity dying from the vaccine. You get
It's no longer about
no, it's
photography
not
then,
about
it's just
photography.
changed.
There's too much advertisement. There's too much politicization in it. And I think that the good of Instagram, of what it was when it was created and what it was created for, has completely and utterly been washed out of it. And you know,
Mm, Well, you know what? And you know what? Look, I mean, we could go on about that one, I think, for a long, long period of time. I mean, what I'd like to do, I suppose, now is just take one final break in it, Robert, right? And I'm going to come back. I've got 3 questions I ask every guest. Just because you're a friend of mine, I'm not letting you off. You're going to be asked the same 3 questions as well. So we'll be right back after this.
no problem.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Irish Photography Podcast, why not jump back and listen to the back catalogue we have of episodes, where you'll get some great insights from fantastic guests, gear reviews, lots of hints and tips, and above all else, keeping you company while you drive or relax. Thanks very much for listening. Please consider subscribing, leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you're very welcome back to the final part of the Irish Photography Podcast. So, Rob, 3 questions. First one is I ask all the guests for a funny photography story.
Oh God,
What's yours?
I don't have enough funny photography stories. Getting nearly killed by a stag. Falling into a pile of cow shit. Oh God, trying to think. The one night that I got scared the crap out of myself was above in Ladies View, and there was a beautiful shot looking down into Clarny and the lakes, and I was supposed to be meeting two friends of mine from Kenmare that were supposed to go with me because I was going to show them a bit of how to do the astrophotography. And I get up there around 2 o'clock, and there's this forestry off to the left, and had the tripod set up and put the camera up, had everything lined up, the whole lot. Next thing I hear this calling, basically, which is what you'd hear during the rut. If you've ever been to the national
Right.
park, that the stag, and yeah, thanks
Ooh.
so much. Now
Yeah.
I feel like it's in my ear now.
Free sound
Yeah,
effects there now.
exactly. So next thing, all of us, did I hear and the thing is, I feel like it's coming for me, and you got to remember, it's black dark. All I can see is the lights of Killarney way off in the distance. So I
Way
just
off in the
literally said,
distance.
and I'm standing on a cliff edge as well, by the way. So I just held onto my tripod. I kind of cowered down and I went, okay, if this is it, good luck to all of you. And I just sort of stood there like this, and the deer or stag literally just ran straight past me, hit the tripod, jumped off the flipping car. I basically I literally did, I think, shit myself, and went back to the car and drove back to Kenmare, and I was never so scared in all my life. It was absolutely the most horrendous thing that ever happened to me.
Boy.
So scary.
Especially in the dark, and you don't know where direction is. Well, you know what direction it's come from, but you don't know exactly where it's going to hit.
Oh, you didn't even
Hit
know
the
what it
tripod.
was. I mean, it literally sounded like there was a flipping train coming for me, but I knew there was no train there. But I didn't know. I knew it was coming from behind, and I
Class.
just said, I'm a dead man if he's coming at me with the antlers or whatever it was.
Class. You survived to tell the
I
tale.
did.
So
I'm
yeah,
still
thanks
here.
for
Yeah.
that one. Okay. Next question. What gear do you shoot with?
I have a Canon a Canon R6.
It's shiny.
It's shiny and
It's
brand new.
shiny. Yeah.
That was my gas, as you and Dodd used to like to call it. Yeah,
Yes.
and I still do use my my Canon 5D Mark III from time to time, but that's starting to grow dust because I've used.
Okay. So you have the new and shiny EOS R6,
Yeah.
and you still have the Canon 5D Mark III, which, as you say, is going to gather dust. So you're falling in love with the mirrorless and falling in love with the R.
Oh my God, it's just it's orgasmic.
Told you.
Yeah.
What lenses? You mentioned earlier on,
I
you
have
have two lenses
the
that you normally
70.
shoot
I was
with.
actually I mentioned I've got a 70 to 200 Canon f2.8, and I have the 16 to 35 2.8, and I have the 35 to 70 in the f4.
What do you use for Astro?
Astro. Oh, I'm sorry, Jesus, I forgot about that one. Jesus, I have my
Yeah.
Sakina
So
16
you're
millimeter.
lucky you got me here to remind
I know,
you
yeah,
of your
because you
gas.
said,
Go
yeah,
on, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Takina
You
11 to
have the
16.
Takina what?
Takina 11 to 16 millimeter. I love that lens for stars. Oh my God,
Great lens.
that is such a lens, such a
Yeah,
powerful lens.
great lens. I have exactly the same one. And always you get infinity focus as well every time.
Oh yeah, it's
Bang.
brilliant.
No
Yeah,
messing around.
because one of the reasons
Yeah,
why
no messing around.
I got the Canon 16 to 35 in the f2.8, because I thought that would actually be very good for the astrophotography, because it's with the glass lens, and that the Takina 11 to 16 is just far superior. And
Yeah,
the
agreed. Winner, winner.
infinity focus in it is just brilliant.
Yeah, winner, winner. Chicken dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, third question. We have a section here, a regular section. It's called a VSP. It means a very solid product. It's a product that you will not leave home without. You'd swear by it. If you could put your name to it, you'd put your name to it. So, Robert, what is your VSP?
Oh, my VSP would be the bug spray, or midgie spray as you call it over here, gnat spray as we call it in America. Baby oil, and I always carry a spare dress or outfit in my bag for model photography. Not for me though. I will put
I
it
was
that
just going to say,
not for
they're the
me.
most unusual ones I've heard now in a while. Mid spray fine, mid spray baby oil and a dress.
Baby oil
I
is
hope you
because
get
baby
stopped
oil.
by the cops.
If
They're
no,
my VSPs, honestly, Your Honor.
yeah, no, my baby oil is always a go-to, because if you have the right light and you have a little bit of baby oil to rub on or not me, but if the ladies have a little bit of baby oil to rub onto legs, arms, things like that, when you take the photograph, you get this nice sheen off the body, which actually
Sheen.
makes it look very nice.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
dress is always there in case I have. It's very funny. Me, when I go out, I could go into the likes of TK Maxx as a dude. I'd go upstairs and look through the guys' stuff in Killarney, and then I could come downstairs and I'd actually go looking through the dresses, which some people find pretty intimidating, especially when there's women in the dress section, and I'm there kind of going, that would actually be nice. And I'm holding it out like this, kind of going, I could use that. I could use that. And sometimes if they're really cheap, I might buy one. And that's actually what happens. I mean, I know it sounds awful to some of your photography buddies out there, but yes, occasionally I do happen to buy the odd dress that I use for a photo shoot if I need to, because it's just something that I,
It's
again,
allowed.
have it
It's allowed.
for the big picture.
It's allowed. You heard it here first. The VSP that you need to have for any photography shoot, TK Maxx, Bargain Aisle, women's dresses, first for the Irish Photography Podcast.
Yeah.
Well done, Rob. That's class boy. I have to say, hats off you on that one. But it's allowed. It's okay. I understand exactly why.
Okay.
All right. So listen, look, we're nearly done, man. It's amazing to think it. Couple of questions for you. What's next for you, and what's next for Insta Ireland? So you mentioned there, you haven't got much time for it at the moment, and now you're doing some photography shoots. So hopefully you're getting a bit more time. So what's next for you and next for Insta Ireland?
Next for me, I mean, as I said, I'm just going to kind of keep on. I mean, look, as I said, I love the photography, so I'm never gonna give that up. I mean, and I suppose I'm going to need a platform to share it. So I mean, that's why. I mean, as reluctant and all, and as hateful as I am towards Instagram lately, I mean, I'm still probably going to stay with it and use it as a platform to post for both my model photography and in landscapes. Um, in Ireland, I mean, look, I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to try and help out Susan and try and basically try and see if we can build it back up to. Our goal was for the end of this year was to be at 100,000, and I mean, I've kind of dropped the ball on that one the last couple of months because just things in general, just as you know, the world has just kind of changed an awful lot in the last couple of months, and
Yeah.
I just haven't had the heart into it to get into it, to do it, to give it my full. And if I'm not into doing something, if I can't give it my full attention, then I'm not. There's no point in doing something half-assed. So if it's being run properly and done the way it's supposed to be at the moment, which it is, then I'm just kind of leaving, as they say, sleeping dogs lie, and I'll get back into it
Yeah.
in
Leave
due
well
course.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose, the final question then is, where can people find Insta Ireland? So it's Insta_Ireland,
Yeah.
correct?
Hmm.
And where can people find you on Instagram?
Oh, I'm the good old Irish name from the hills of Steam, Robert_Ziegenfuss, which is Z, or sorry, you say Z over here, ZIEGENFUSS. And then I also have my model photography page, which is our ZK photography. But I have that private because being in small town Ireland, I run into problems with basically people giving me crap for what I do. And I mean, it's what I do. I don't have anything full nude. I don't shoot anything that's too graphic. I mean, everything I do, I think is tasteful. I don't know. You might have a different opinion on that, or your viewers might have a different opinion.
No, I think it's very tasteful for sure. Yeah.
I mean, because I said I try to make everything very artistic and very tasteful, but I mean, there again, in small town Ireland, you just get shit for everything you try to do. So I have the account on private, and I choose who I let in to see my product and who I don't let in to see my product, and that's pretty much the way it is. I hate doing that because, as I was mentioning, through tags and all that kind of stuff, it's very difficult being a private page to be able to get out there to get
Mhm.
noticed. But look, as I said, for the sake of sanity and from listening to small-minded people, I just leave it private.
Well, hopefully you'll send me a couple of images that I can share as thumbnails anyway in the Facebook group and also for the Instagram to promote this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It took me too long to get you on. So we might have to rectify that. Might have to get you on again now, I think, since I get the movement going
Let's
and
do
see
it.
how
Yeah,
you
we should.
how you fall in how you fall into the chair.
Yeah, we should do it. It'd be fun.
All right.
We could bitch and moan and fight about stuff, and we could bring up different topics, and we can get into it.
Yeah.
It'd be great fun.
I was nice to you tonight because you're a guest, so if you come back again now, I won't be nice to you. I'll just give you complete and utter shite.
You've
You'll be
always been
grand.
nice
But you're
to me,
used to that
Darren.
from me anyway.
You've always been nice to me. Always.
Dude, it's been a pleasure, like I say. Thank you very, very much for coming on. I hopefully see you again soon. And from me in Cork to you down in the beautiful Kenmare, Slán go fóill. That's bye for now, Ascuelga, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much for the Irish lesson. I appreciate that. You take care and have a great evening, all right?
Cheers, man.
All the best. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you dig what you're hearing, why don't you jump over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and don't forget to share with your friends. With all that done, we'll see you next week, and remember, keep shooting.